Nothing shows a man's character more than what he laughs at. Goethe, John Rose. Occasionally, I jokingly call myself, or refer to myself as an excremental scientist. And if I'm talking to a lot of people, or no matter who I'm talking to, I kind of expect somewhat of a response to that in the form of laughter. And I find it very fascinating why we have a strong tendency to laugh at this subject matter. And in order to understand this a little bit better, we need to take a look at the science of shit. It's called Scatology. And we can start off with a book that was published in 1891 by Captain John G. Bourke, called the Scatological Rites of All Nations. He misspelled scatology on purpose, because this subject does open itself up for humor. Now, several decades after that book was published, it was translated into German, and the introduction was written by Sigmund Freud, who thought that this book was a good start in pointing out the shame that most of us have when it comes to excrement. There's shame associated with the topic of excrement. Freud went on to say there's a reason why we make a joke out of it. That the function of a joke is to serve as a distractionary element in order to deflect the pain caused by repressed impulse. And in our case, that impulse, that repressed impulse, is to consume the subject of our excrement. More specifically, how disgusting it is. It's interesting how much we are in denial about what's going in and what's going out. We don't understand what to eat. We don't want to talk about it. And we laugh at it when it comes out of us. Look at that disgusting crap. Now, this 500-page book written in 1891 with 52 chapters was condensed down in 1993 by the editor, Kaplan. Rearranged the chapters, only used about 58% of them, 30 of those chapters. Threw away about 2/3 of the book, knocked it down to 165 pages, 33% of those 500. And renamed it the Portable Scatolog, again playing with the term scatology, reducing that name down even further. And it was marketed as toilet humor. So as you're sitting there on the john, wondering why it's taking you so long to get rid of that stuff, you get something to pass the time with. And it's interesting that what he did with this book, again, he rearranged the chapters, and he threw out Bourke's introduction, put his own introduction in there, and had his own conclusion, which was, of course, why has this subject matter been limited to the medium of a joke? And then when he starts off his book, he takes the work from The Plague of Nations, that Slavonian philosopher Zizek, and he starts off his book by showing the comparison between the German and the French and the Anglo-Americans, the English and the Americans, in their toilets. To the Germans, the way they had their laboratory, the way they set it up is the hole was in front, the platform was in back, so when they finished they could inspect and look at their excrement to see if there is anything wrong with them. The French reversed the hole in the platform so that they could get rid of it as soon as they could. And the Anglos here, we have some water in the basin so we can still see it, but we just can't inspect it anymore. Very important for us to understand what's coming out of us. And it's understandable why we laugh at it. It's all about a repressed impulse. It's to deflect the emotion associated with this reality. The pain that our fecal matter is disgusting. It's a reflection of us. And it shouldn't be. And perhaps the biggest problem most of us have is that no one knows any different. We just think we're normal. My mother or dad, neither one of them or anybody ever took me into the bathroom and said, "Son, this is what your bowel movement should look like. You can tell what we ate yesterday. We all ate the same thing, right? You see those blueberries, you see those, you see that? That was what we ate yesterday. It's already out, and this is what it looks like. It's soft and it's moist. There's no form. It's not a sausage shape object that took 3 days to go through us, and all that water was sucked out of it. Came out and is nice and formed, and we flush the toilet, it all breaks up. We're not taught that. We don't know how to look for disease inside of our bowel movements, although we know if we see blood, something's wrong, right? You know, there's so much confusion about what to eat. There's so much confusion about what's considered a healthy bowel movement. And that's mainly because our so-called experts in nutrition don't study the third cycle of food, the elimination cycle. They don't understand the bowel transit time of our food. And of course, this is what Victor Hugo is talking about, the serpent in the belly. Remember, most of us it's like we're carrying around a bag full of shit. That's what it is. We've got 12, 15 meals that are backed up inside of our intestines. What's coming out of us is so disgusting, it's turned into our #1 form of laughter. People laugh at excrement jokes more than any other joke, followed only by sex, and for the same reason. Again, whatever we laugh at reveals a lot about us. The fact that we laugh at this subject matter is sad, and it's understandable. Not a whole lot of fun for us to realize we're the enemy. Of course, that's mainly because we don't realize the implication of what that statement means. If you're the enemy, who's the hero? What's the solution? If you're the problem because of what you're doing, stop doing it, and guess what? Most of those problems are going to go away, unless you did some permanent damage somehow. Remember, whatever we do accumulates, and we're making mistakes every day. If I'm banging my head up against the wall every day, 50 years later, I can stop banging my head up against the wall and remove that primary cause, but what about that big old knot that I have on my head? How long is it going to take for that to go away, and will it ever go away? So isn't it interesting? Something as simple as evaluating what we eat, something as simple as evaluating what comes out of us, can turn our planet totally around. If we can stop thinking it's a laughing matter and take it serious for a moment. Because this isn't funny at all. It's sad to reflect that everyone you see is walking around with a bag of shit, a luggage full of shit. That's basically what it's like. Think about it, that's what it's like. You got a real long food tube in here, eating food that takes way too long to go through there. There's a lot of waste matter in our pipes at almost every moment of our life. And it's all because we're eating the wrong food. 5 made mistakes. 5 things we mastered. 5 bad applications. And we applied it to our food. And now, we're in denial about what we eat, and we laugh at what we shit. Isn't this the funny world we live in? Funny. It's only funny to keep you from crying, isn't it? But that can change. If we can wake up to the fact that we're full of it, and you know how to do that, that's where the solid food vacation comes into play. Because when you stop consuming solid food, nothing's going in but liquids, and you see this stuff coming out day after day, and you want to do that. You want to inspect that stuff coming out of you so you can figure out when you've finished. Because there will come a time where you'll get that old stuff out, and all you're getting out of you would be some of that fiber that's getting through if you're drinking juices. And I'm telling you, folks, there is not a better feeling in the world that comes when we finally clean out all that stuff we've accumulated. Because there are 2 bathrooms we have to clean to change this planet. The first bathroom comes from the food we eat. We poop. Got a bathroom. Clean it out, drink nothing but juices. When we do that, it cleans all the other bathrooms for all the other cells. Because our cells are like us. They have to eat too, and they've got to get rid of their stuff. And the disease process comes when those 2 fluids that one feeds the cell and cleans the cell become polluted. Now we auto-intoxicate the body. Very simple concept that goes way back in Germany in the 1800s. In fact, when you understand when this book was written, you have to understand what was going on at that time, back in 1891. When Kellogg had the sanitariums, they were understanding this stuff. We understood in the 1800s. This is when natural hygiene took off in the early 1800s. And Henry Lindler came over to America. Something's jumping on my back here. Came over to America in the early 1900s. That's where Herbert Shelton got his information, a lot of it, when he went to the Lindler College. The Germans had this all figured out. Remember, the Germans confronted their waste. They knew their shit. They understood the importance of these bathrooms. The French, no. Get it to disappear as quick as possible. Hey, we English, hey, there it is, but we ain't gonna check it out. Tell you, my friends, the day you finally take a solid food vacation, the day you finally look at all that stuff coming out of you, is the day you're in for a treat. Ow!